Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Wednesday. This is Jasmine, one of your hosts on the Inner Revolution here on Studio B at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio. And we do appreciate your support with your energy, your listening, your opinions, your participation, and also your dollars and your cents, your common sense, as well as those pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, and $100 bills laying around. We all know we have them stashed somewhere. Come on to freedomslips.com. Come click the support us button and, offer up whatever you can. Everything here is done on a volunteer basis, and we all know that electricity costs money, right? There's a lot of people giving their all on the back end, the front end, and everywhere else. Two platforms. Great station owner, Hawk. Thank you for this opportunity. And I'm here with my co-host, Benjamin. Hi, Ben.
Hello, Jasmine, and a wonderful good evening to everyone that's listening to us.
Sorry.
It's always so nice to have you on the air with us, whether you're listening, whether you're participating, whether you're in the chat room or live on the air. Anything and everything is appreciated.
I just saw a comment saying shucking a bushel of corn is a big job. It is, and we've been enjoying corn in Ontario too. It's corn month, and I love it. And we're lucky enough to have some local farmers that are still using, untampered with seeds that they've been growing for generations, and it's tasty and delicious. And personally, my excuse for eating butter and salt, copious amounts of organic butter and tons of gray sea salt upon this golden cob of yumminess. I heard a great quote in a movie the other night, or a show we've been watching called House of Lies, and it's a fun little series. And they said, when you eat corn, you don't really own it; you only ever borrow it, right? I thought that was funny and true enough, and I'm sure you all can fill in the blanks for yourself. But tonight's show, I would like to make a little bit of an announcement. Tonight's topic is all about change and being yourself and trust, and we're going to just blend that all up in the wonderful corn muffin chocolate rum ball truffle with coffee. The way we tend to do, we welcome your participation. You can give us a call or join us at, let's see, how do we do Studio B? 310-421-4053. If you're going to dial in via landline, please ensure that you're not calling on an unknown line, because then we won't be answering you.
Because we can't.
Because we can't, yes.
Not because I don't like it, it's because I can't.
We really can't. So ensure that you have your caller ID is showing. And also you can also via Skype come to Freedom Screen 2 and come on in the chat room too. And there's a donate button there, and you can design yourself a cool little avatar icon. So our announcement, we're talking about change, we're talking about trust, and we're talking about being yourself. I'll say, how do I be myself fully? The announcement is this is our second to last show on this amazing platform. Our last show will be of the Inner Revolution, featuring Benjamin and myself, Jasmine, will be next week. We'll be broadcasting from Europe. The reason we are ending our Rev Radio broadcasts for now. Anyway, I hope it's always an open door. We love it so much. But things have changed for us. And with our family structure recently having changed, which we attempted to share last week, but we had such incredible technological issues, which was really a good precursor for us. It really overshadowed what it could be like if we were globetrotting, which we want to do now that we have less responsibility for another living creature. Another heartbeat, so to speak, another dear one. So we're going to go forth and travel the way we've always wanted to travel. And we thought, what would it be like if we were, on a mountainside it'll be great. But what would it be like to not have an appropriate connection to be able to broadcast to have a quality connection, to honor the listeners, to honor the show, to honor the platform, to honor, the owner of the station and the way in which the quality wants to go out there. And we thought it wouldn't be very good because if last week was any indication, it wasn't very pleasant. I mean, we made the best of it. And any of y'all who hung on listening to us, thank you, because that was quite a challenge, wasn't it? Yeah, so we have this show, and next week's show will be broadcasting from Europe, which will be exciting. So it'll be like 4 a.m. for us. I'll see what that's like. I better have lots of coffees. I better have espresso.
So we're trying really, really hard to get that jet lag hammered out, and then we get up really, really early in order to just mess it up a little bit. But for you, anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the listeners. So it's I'm really excited about that change. And I mean change. There was our sweet cat left us, which was the last heartbeat I felt fully responsible for in a way that I had to really take care of it like a family member, a child, if you will. So with that, in the space of that breathless moment, my life changed. Our lives changed, and it's a whole new slate. I mean, moving through that change can sometimes be uncomfortable, right? I mean, it's sad, but it's exciting, and it's like with the change of this radio show too. I mean, I'm sad. There's a piece of me that is sad because I won't be connecting every week. I won't be talking to all of you. I won't be interacting with all of you. I won't be chatting with you. And I love that. I feel like it's been such an incredibly supportive, beautiful, succulent platform for me and challenging in a lot of ways. And I've grown so much. So much. I feel like I've learned so much and I've grown so much and I've been touched on so many levels, and I have such appreciation and gratitude for this. So there's sadness in leaving that, but I'm also really excited. I kind of feel like a kid who's going off to college or going off, traveling to Europe or something on an adventure,
It is like going away for a while, but when change happens, especially with the passing of someone, it's quite amazing to see how many little details are actually shifting and changing. Oftentimes we can't quite really understand in the moment of when it happened the brunt of the effects it might have on one's life. Sometimes it might be nothing really that changes in a significant way. And yet here it certainly changed our life in many very subtle ways. Yet these many different subtle ways actually accumulate to have a much greater effect of just feeling a lot freer, feeling very different in even the capacity to be able to go left when we want to go left and go right when we want to go right without having to consider how we get our pussycat fed.
Our pussycat fat. We did call him Chatty Fat.
Yeah,
but he wasn't fat.
No, it was actually quite tough to get him to be fat because, I mean, you did so give him quite a buffet usually. He was eating like a royal king. There's no doubt about that, and he deserved it, no doubt. He definitely had an attitude of a royal king, of course, if not maybe more godlike. I'm not quite sure which one.
Well, yeah.
But after all, he is a cat. He is a master of his own world, and isn't he? He was a wonderful teacher, and he taught us so many things. And even in the passing, it's quite amazing to see how many things I'm still learning from the passing of a dear, beloved friend like this. And also what opportunities are opening up and being able to also to travel without having to take care of another in this way. I'm sure that a lot of you parents whose children have already moved out might understand some of these aspects, although with children it's a little bit different insofar, even if they moved out, they tend to come back.
Yeah, and sometimes they come back with their kids, but this is this is why I suggest moving to another country. So let's talk about change and let's talk about trust. Trust, not just another four-letter word. and talk about being ourselves. I'd like to share a book that has moved me deeply.
Four-letter
Has
word?
Yeah, I know. Well, you figure that one out. I know it's not literally a four-letter word, but not just another four-letter word. Trust, it can be like one of those. It can be like one of those, yeah. Um, I want to share to begin, to open this topic, and we welcome your participation. I mean, I know you're chatting in the chat room. I love that, and would love to hear your voices as well. Anything. We talk about anything, really. But I want to share with all of you a book that has really moved me. Now, y'all know I'm a big reader, and I'm a writer, and I love to communicate. I'm a communicator. That's even more so. I love to communicate, and I love to openly communicate with people, and really in every way. And I love to listen to people and just open and share. I read this book that has touched me on a profoundly deep level, and I am suggesting it to a lot of people, as I do when I run across these gems. And whether it'll move you or not, I don't know. But certainly, if anyone has ever lost someone they've loved, through death, transitioning, croaking, moving to the other side, transcending the fleshiness, all these wonderful terms we have, right? There's a book by a woman named Anita Moorjani, Moorjani, and the book is called Dying to Be Me. Now, I came across this woman about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, in a video, and some of you may have seen the video. In a nutshell, this 25 words or less, woman had hardcore cancer, lymphoma, was done. Organs shut down, done. After 4 years of moving through this, was taken to the hospital, went into a coma, 30 hours in a coma, and moved to the other side and had quite an experience, which she called, well, an NDE, a near-death experience, and came back and healed completely. Like within 5 days, she was 80% healed, and the rest of the healing just took course over the next few months. Like, and this is medically documented. There's all her science is there, the doctor's reports, everything is all documented. And she came back with this message from the other side and what it was really like. And I met a man once at a swimming pool who told me that he had had a heart attack and died for a few minutes and went to the other side. Well, out of the fleshiness, I'll call it the other side, the hereafter, I don't know. And he said it was the most beautiful experience because there was absolutely no judgment and pure unconditional love. And he came back and he said he spent the next 6 months drinking red wine, smoking cigarettes, and writing poetry. And he recognized it was the first time in his life that he was living without any fear. And that's one of her messages, was from her father and her best friend, was to go back and live life fearlessly, to love yourself, to value yourself, to be yourself. And to me, that's incredible. It's so simple, right? But somehow it has touched me at such a deep level. I feel as though oftentimes, when I meditate or I'm moving through stuff, I'll say, just give me a sign. If God itself, all that is itself, the universe will come down. I don't have a problem with the word God. Fill in your blank. Bob's your uncle. We all know this if you've been listening to me for any length of time at all, or had a conversation with me over coffee. It would come down and just say, Jasmine, bang, here it is. And I feel like that's what happened with this book. I had it on my Kindle for a year, or in my radar for a year, or over a year. Saw the video a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, was so impressed, suggested it out, forgot about it. It was sort of in my peripheral vision. And after Chatty Fat died, and I was very moved by that. As you know, he was a dear friend and a long-time companion. It came to me, read this book. And it has opened up my world in a very new way. So I suggest that. Dying to Be Me by Anita Moorjani. Check it out if it calls to you. It's an awesome, easy to read little golden nugget. And Wayne Dyer does the foreword. He's kind of a cool guy. I guess if you're into his stuff, he's kind of a cool guy. published by Hay House. Love Hay House. Maybe they'll publish me one day.
It's so interesting to me too. I find it so fascinating that in specifically Christianity, it's been spun in a way to oftentimes point to the ultimate judgment coming after death. There, all the judgment in the world is actually placed in that time frame of departing. And here, on the other hand, the stories told by people that have passed and have come back all point to a lack of judgment. Judgment actually being something that is much more ingrained in the human experience in the here and now, rather than what comes after. And I wonder how people might behave differently if that was the story that was told all the way through, that there is no judgment after death. That actually you do go back into the space of complete understanding and love. That it is sort of like dipping your toes back into the divine pool of soulness, of soulfulness, of you, of who you really are. And there's more of you rather than ultimate judgment, rather than purgatory or any of these other like really judgment infested ideas that make people fear death.
Isn't that judgment infested ideas? I love that. It is like an infestation, isn't it? The judgment, fear. And in this book, I mean, she speaks to the fear, and all of her, what she felt, how she was so afraid to really live because she was, I got this beautiful tone in my ear, because she was so wanting to try to, go by her, she was brought up Hindu and Catholic and this and that, and how to fit into school here and trying to be a submissive wife here according to culture, but not wanting to do that and feeling this and that and at odds with her dreams and desires and herself, and trying to please everyone around her, trying not to hurt others, trying to take care of others, trying to subdue others. And she said, that she really got that all of this fear, she was so afraid of living and of disappointing and really ultimately of just being herself, that she literally was infested with that fear. And it's a really incredible book, and it really, for me, somehow validates what I've been experiencing and saying and offering and sharing and teaching and assisting others to work towards and assisting myself to work towards. And somehow I feel like I've gotten a drop of, a drop of golden light on my tongue and in my heart. And it's allowed me somehow to connect more deeply to my soul and to be fearless and to be myself, to really be myself.
I hear you there. And the thing is too, why would we really want to still even please others if we knew that there was a life of complete lack of judgment that comes after this fleshiness? Why would we even try to please others at that point? Why would we go through the rat race of living up to other people's expectations if there is no more judgment after this life? When you actually look at it from the perspective, hey, what you take with you is actually the amount of your experiences and not how much money you have in the bank or how much better you were at XYZ, fill in your own blank, than your next door neighbor, for example. All of a sudden, doesn't that actually change the outcome of things so substantially? If there's no more fear of death, then what's left to control you? What's left to control people? Isn't death actually sort of the ultimate way to have control over others, because it's so difficult to gather information on? And might I add, not impossible. Because I mean, I've researched death many different times, and every single time I've come up with pretty much the exact same answer. The colors might change slightly of how people have or how people create the descriptions of these events, because hey, they're pretty damn magnificent, and it's difficult to explain exactly what that experience looked like. However, it's always so incredible to me how strikingly similar these descriptions are of people that have gone through something that is called a clinical death and have come back. It is really quite strikingly
It's
amazing.
striking, and this is what's in that book. And so, speaking of these changes, I get death seems to be the ultimate change. But what I've been recognizing is that actually for me, through Chad's death, and I mean, for some of you, this may sound a little bizarre. I mean, some people are close to animals, some aren't, and I know there are certain special animals some of us have that are really close to us and others that are not as close, but I get it. And for some people, it might seem strange, but for me, this was a powerful movement. This animal was my friend for 14 years, and a dearly beloved friend. I mean, I used to be deathly allergic to cats, like hardcore, to take me to the hospital. And I saw this cat, and he was 4.5 weeks old, and I had to have him. And I just moved through the allergy stuff, healed it up, and that was it. And he was a good friend. And in the decisions that I had to make, in the moving through the sadness, in moving through the patterns that were ingrained, somehow something has changed me. I also feel very free. And it's allowed me now to, and then with this book, everything is always so divinely orchestrated. It's allowed me somehow to step more, to listen more deeply to my soul, to listen more deeply to my spirit, to allow myself to, I don't even know, I want to find the words. I'm such a communicator, and yet I guess for some experiences there are no words, and we do the best we can because there's a way in which words sort of box things in, don't they? And then we sort of stick to the words and we say, no, that's what it is. But in this case, it's really not that's what it is, or is it ever really that's what it is? But there's something I feel has shifted inside of me. I feel that I am more here. I feel that I am more enjoying things more. I feel like when I touch my sweetheart's cheek, I feel his skin more. When I talk to someone, I hear their voice clearer. It feels to me like what's really important is that I be with myself and enjoy myself and really be in tune with that. And it seems even more or less important. Is that even a sentence, Ben? More or less important? I don't know.
More or less.
More. I feel like it's even vastly less important now, the whole money gig game. I feel like there's just whatever little bit of me was left striving for having to do business a certain way or having to fit into those shoes a certain way, or to present myself a certain way, or to act a certain way, or to look a certain way, or to feel a certain way, or to be like them, or look like her, or feel like he did, or write like she did, or do my social media like he does, or have my web design like she does, has fallen away. And so much so that even if a crumb, the slightest wave of a thought of comparison to another human being rolls through, it rolls off like water on a duck's feather or water on a raincoat. It just goes, whoa, it has nothing. It's like all I have to do, my new mantra is be myself. Be myself. If I am myself truly Jasmine, and this is what's happening now, then I realize that a lot of things that I've been doing or trying to acquiesce to or form into or fit into They don't matter. They never really did. It was a whole lot of me giving away a lot of energy, a lot of my power, a lot of my life force, a lot of my inner chi, as Mr. Time would say. I love that. So it's in the vocabulary now. Away to others, and it from a non-reciprocal perspective, because I could never really catch up.
And it's so interesting when we start to strive to see the reality as it should be in comparison to what it actually is. And then we start to try and fit this big idea of reality into, in one way or another, or change reality so that it becomes the way we feel it should be. And oh my, is that a big job. But it's really interesting. I mean, we've been talking quite a bit about the idea of just be yourself. And it's very interesting because, I mean, we talk about these types of concepts quite often, but I'm sure you've had that when you take any given word, maybe like pillow, for example, and you keep repeating it so many times that it starts to sound funny. It starts like it's almost like you don't quite know exactly what that word means anymore. Pillow, 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 pillow. Anyway, it's actually quite.
I've done that.
It's actually quite similar with some of these concepts. It's that we start to repeat them over and over and over and over and over to the point where they start to dissociate again, where we start to lose the meaning that they carry. And it was almost like the same thing with the concept of being yourself. On one hand, of course I'm myself, well, there's no question about that. And on the other hand, it's like, aren't we always sort of striving to be ourselves? And sometimes it's like we're standing beside ourselves, and then we're back in really settled in ourselves. It's really quite interesting, even the colloquialisms that we use in order to describe these types of things. How could we ever actually stand beside ourselves? That doesn't, on one hand, make a lot of sense, but if we actually take the soul into account, then all of a sudden it can seem like we're standing beside ourselves. Maybe because we've dislocated from our perception of how we see reality as compared to what reality actually is. There's such a great mismatch that it's almost like we can't even fit into our body, into this reality, and we're standing beside it. And it's sort of like actually what we've been talking about since we started this show, that we also have this stream, this energy stream that constantly flows through our bodies. And you can call them feelings or emotions. It doesn't really matter, but you definitely know whether they feel pleasant or unpleasant to you. And there is this energy stream that constantly lets you know whether you're on track with yourself or off track. And there is this point where you can feel so incredibly balanced within yourself. You have experienced it because it is so natural to you. And when it becomes really unpleasant, when the emotional sense goes haywire and just rings all the alarm bells, you know what that feels like. And it feels so foreign, it feels so uncomfortable that we will do almost anything to get back to that balanced state. And here, when we are in the balanced state, that's usually when we feel most comfortable. That's when we are ourselves.
Yeah, isn't that it? And it's such a, I found for me, it's like it's been like tuning a Stradivarius to really get really in tune, because I used to be so out of tune, like myself. People, if somebody said this to me maybe 15 years ago, like you really got to be yourself and open to spirituality, I'd be looking at them going, okay, right, I've had some experiences in the past. I've studied with Buddhists and Taoist monks. I gotcha, but I got to do things. I got kids to raise. I got things to do. I'm on it. Like, I don't have time for all this stuff. There's bills to be paid. There's stuff. and I would sort of get what they were saying, but at the same time, I was so stuck in the groove. And I thought I was maybe being myself. And I was certainly a version of that. But the nuances, the more finely tuned I've become, it's so sensitive, this instrument now, that for me to have come to this to receive these gifts through my cat and through these books and through the last month and a half or so that I've been moving a lot of energy and wondering, what is my purpose? Why am I here? What do I want to do? Because none of the shoes were fitting. None of the old mechanisms or ways of doing things and operating in this world, either in business or relationship or as a parent or really as a woman, as a friend, they weren't working. As a writer, they weren't working. As a healer, they weren't working anymore. And it was like, well, this old Rolodex, this file, all of these things, I've done so many revisions. I don't understand why it's not working. But it's because there was this little, it seems so little, but maybe it was really big. I don't know, like big, small. Is there size? Is there time? I don't know. But it feels like there's been something unlocked, something opened, something magnificent that I have recognized. Well, Anita Morjani says that. She said, we are all magnificent. We are magnificence. And at our core, we are love. And I have always known this, and I have felt it many times, but not like this. There's something that I feel as though I had an out-of-body near-death experience. I feel as that I have been directly spoken to in a way that my soul went, ah, and it opened. And I feel for the first time ever safe to be fully myself, that it's okay that I don't even feel the comparison anymore, that I should be doing something in a way other than the way that feels most super comfy, cozy, and most easy for me to be doing it, which hasn't always been the case.
That's a luxury.
It is a luxury.
And yet it should
Yeah.
be so natural. Isn't that funny though?
Is it a luxury? How so?
Only in nowadays stress-filled world, because we do have to pay the bills, because there is so much that it is actually threatening to us that it becomes very difficult to even see anymore that life is actually the dominant force. It isn't death, it's actually life. Because, funnily enough, death wouldn't even exist to begin with if there wasn't something that would live. And there isn't even anything that is fully and truly final, as usually I've been told death is. Yeah, you do shift forms. There's no doubt about that. And you're not going to come back into the same body. Yeah, I hear that too. But from all the stories that I've heard that are at least to an extent believable, it continues. It continues. And it's even really challenging for my mind to even come up with something that is like an end. The only thing I can fathom is a black screen, and I can even just hold that idea for a limited amount of time until it goes off to something else. So even to try and comprehend that it's over seems so foreign that it does cause some anxiety. Now, if we were so tuned in to ourselves and the way that we think, we might actually recognize that our soul is right there saying something like, well, this is not quite true, not from the viewpoint that I have over here.
Totally. And it's really interesting because there's a little bit of a strand going on I am so involved in this conversation. I'm not paying a lot of attention to chat, but I was for a moment, Benjamin. And there seems to be something going on where, there's somebody talking about something like this in the chat room, about expectations of others or something. And I so get that. I mean, aren't we just inundated from square one, and we're so entrenched, like encased in this, what do you call it, a sarcophagus? Is that?
Mm, what?
What do they put the Egyptian, a sarcophagus? Is that it?
Um,
Something where they put the mummies in it? Sarcophagus? Anyway,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
I think so.
I think that's the word anyway. um, it's like we're encased in this. We're mummified. We're covered in cement. We're entrenched and heavily weighted into this deep groove. And there's just a little bit of air, right? And we're like, from square one, we come in and we have to like not cry when we're babies. We have to be a good baby. And then, we have to get these marks in school. And there's so many expectations of us. The boys wear blue, the girls wear pink. And we can say, oh, no, no, I don't believe that anymore. And you know what? A lot of us don't. But I know this, that we still carry so many limiting, painful, it hurts, right? It hurts. It hurts to not be ourselves. It hurts to give ourselves over, to try so hard to fit into somebody else's version of who we're supposed to be. And it's equally as painful to try and squish and form and mold and push someone into a groove, a way of being or acting that we want them to be. It hurts.
Like, I mean, any thought that I have that says I need to be better than I already am always
Wow, it
hurts.
hurts. Or I need you to be different than you are. I need you to be professional, and this is what it looks like. And I need you to dress this way and act this way and do business this way and present yourself this way. And I mean, God, we do it to ourselves, and we've been, it's okay. Like, I really get that it's so okay, because it's kind of a neat way to learn. It's like if we squish all the jelly out of the donut, then eventually we'll realize that all we're left with is this like big bag of dough, and it's not even really what we want. We kind of want the jelly, we want the taste, we want the juice, we want the joy, we want the deliciousness, and somehow at the same time we've squished it out of ourselves and everybody else, and then we're left with this dewy, gooey, flaccid piece of dough that's deep fried gooiness. It's got like bleh. I mean, and that happens to us and to each other, and we do it to each other, and it's okay. But what's really cool is when we get that it's the jelly we enjoy, and we can let the jelly be the jelly. And we don't have to pluck it out. We don't have to fix it. We don't have to change it. We don't have to try to live up to it, because it doesn't feel good. All that stress, man, and going against the grain, and it just doesn't feel good. And it's against the grain of our own souls, against the grain of our own desires. This whole show was about, what do you desire? What do you want? What do you crave? What brings you? What do you want in your life? How do you want to feel? What kind of relationship do you want? When you listen to our little tag, our little commercial for the show, that's what it asks you, these questions. And when we can identify that, we can get even a feeling of that, and we get still. Anything that doesn't align up with that, it falls away. And yeah, I mean, change can be, shift happens, and it can be a little uncomfortable, because we're not really taught to say yes to ourselves. We're taught to bow in complacency and submission to everybody else, and to dominate others as well. Like, it's really just, we do it all the time. We play both roles, all roles.
Well, and it's so interesting because there is the balance between accepting what's here and now and wanting more. Because there is also this part of the soul that has such a deep hunger and such a deep desire for more. We intrinsically want more. And there is one part also that just wants to be happy with what is here and now. So these are seemingly opposing forces. So how does one balance them? Well, by actually enjoying the journey. And that's the whole idea about that saying, not to just look for the destination, but to actually enjoy the journey. Because when we learn to actually pick our journeys according to the journey itself and not the destination. For example, I want to learn the guitar because I know it'll be an incredibly creative exploration to learn the guitar. Is a very different journey than if I say I just want to be a master guitar player. And when I've done that, then that's great. Well, if I just want to be the master guitar player, most likely the journey is going to be quite tedious and difficult and challenging, and I'm going to have to force my way through it. But if I pick the journey for the journey because, hey, what a creative exploration it's going to be to have some fun with this guitar and start to actually become one with it eventually, but also to be a little frustrated here and then to just get a little kick out of it, no matter what happens. Then I'm starting to pick the journey for the journey, and then that's actually a way to start enjoying the getting more and what I already have. It's a very different way of actually going about your life, and it actually allows you to not just aim for the end goal, but to start maybe picking your battles from where you actually might want to have some fun with the battle itself rather than just win in the end.
Well, and that's interesting to pick our battles. I mean, that's a really interesting sentence. I mean, I guess, and I actually, I mean, when I look at it, I go, there are battles because I've had battles with myself, within myself, for as long as I can remember. And then sometimes I also know, in hindsight, because that's always so crystalline and clear, isn't it, that I was having those battles, but I wasn't even aware of it. I was just caught in the stress zone. I was caught in the having to live up to. I was caught in the rat race. I was caught in the have-tos, the busy work, the do, go, be, and, keeping it all together and being with it and rocking and rolling and yeah, and being on all the time. And I didn't even know I was having a battle, but my body sure did. And this is what Anita Moorjani talks about in that book, Dying to Be Me. Because our bodies, and we've been speaking about this since we started the show, right? I mean, I get it. Your body doesn't lie. It's a truth teller. And my body had migraines. It had Crohn's colitis. It had, all sorts of fun stuff, And it's like, well, I had vascular issues and asthma and all that stuff, which is gone now. But it's like, our bodies become the battleground of these choose your battles because a lot of us aren't even aware we're having internal battles with ourselves. All we know is one day, our bodies are feeling sick and we have this happening or that happening and we go to the doctors. And I think doctors are great. And I think that our bodies are great. They're telling us things. It really is my wish that we would all become so inquisitive about ourselves that we would be wanting to learn more, to research, to listen to ourselves deeply, to use the tool of the mind to check in with the heart and to listen to the soul and to have the courage, the kahunas, to be the kahuna, which means in Hawaiian, actually, the wizard, the sage, the wise one, the magician in our own lives, the teacher, the sensei, the guru, the magnificent, beautiful, brilliant spark of all that is, that you are, that we all are, to see that in ourselves, love and value that, let that lead us. Trust, there's that four-letter word, trust that the doors will open, that the windows will open, and that all the goodness will line up in miraculous ways to bring to us exactly the most perfectly ripened, juicy peach of a life that the juice runs down our arms and our chins, and we are so excited by it that we lick it off of our forearms, and we are relish in the flavor and the joy of it. That feels good, that the battles are that we become aware of them, and the battle we choose isn't out there in military boots. It's not against them, but it's actually we become aware of our inner battles, and we have an inner revolution, and that we open our hearts, lay down our swords, lay down our shields, and embrace ourselves and express ourselves.
So interesting to pick one's battles. It's reminding me of the word competition. It's also a more subtle version of battles in today's economy. Constantly faring war with people that are actually in your same industry. Rather than banding together, we have to fight against them. Isn't that interesting that that's what our current system is built on? Now, the word to compete comes from the Latin word competare, which means, originally at least, used to mean to strive together. It wasn't something that you did against one another, but it was something you did together to enhance each other, to further each other. Very different way of looking at it. And I remember one of my favorite teachers, Richard Bandler. He often asked people, what's the opposite of talking? And the most common answer was listening. So what is so interesting about that is that most people, while they're talking, aren't listening, because to them it's the opposite. They're either talking or listening. But isn't actually the most sensible way, when one is talking, to also listen to what one is saying? Because I try to at least listen to what I'm saying, so that if I'm making a mistake while I'm talking, I can catch myself or notice and do something about it next time. And the same actually applies to our inner worlds. Oftentimes we might be thinking, but we're not even aware of what we're thinking or what the quality is of our thoughts. And the inner world is so rich. I know that for myself, that oftentimes I'm way far down a track of thought, a stream of consciousness, before I notice, where the hell am I going with this? This is really not assisting me. But starting to really listen to the thoughts on the inside. And if you've never really listened to your inner voice, it's that voice that's asking you right now, what inner voice? Exactly that one. It is brilliant to start listening to what it is that you're saying in your own mind. Because if you're not taking charge, who's driving your bus?
Good question. That's a great question.
And so it is so important to start listening to the inside. And what I am discovering every day over and over is that the inner world is at least as vast, huge, large, fascinating, and pleasant as the outer world is. If we dare to actually go exploring within, we might actually find the wonders that had people fascinated with alchemy. We might be able to turn the darkness that we feel inside into that pure gold.
Into light. That is the alchemy, isn't it, Benjamin? The density into the lightness, the density we carry within, the sadness into joy, the bitterness into love, the fear into love. That's the alchemy.
And I think that's actually the point where alchemy is easiest to practice, where it is quickest to apply, and where it will show the greatest effect in the shortest amount of time. Simply because it's actually such a quickly moving reality that's constantly manifesting on the inside. On the outside, it's a lot more challenging to turn lead into gold. I'm not sure whether it's possible or not. I haven't been able to do it as of yet. I haven't seen anyone do it in front of me. Is it impossible? Well, I think it would be quite arrogant of me to say that it is.
Well, and you know what's so beautiful is when we really, really continue to peel away the layers and come to the sweet spots where we recognize that there are no beliefs. And when we have no beliefs, we're just in tune with our spirits, our souls, our hearts, our God self, our divinity, our magnificence, the love that we are at the core, then we are literally open to all possibilities, literally inviting in the highest and best probability, the opportunities to show up. And it's beautiful and interesting and lush. It's different. It doesn't.
Magical.
It's magically magnificent, magically delicious is what it is. I would love to hear from some callers. You can call in um, to Studio B, The Inner Revolution. I'm Jasmine. I'm with Benjamin. This is our second last show on The Inner Revolution. For now, I hope it's an open door here. I love everyone here so much. And we're going traveling. Studio B, 310-421-4053. Please, if you call in from an unidentifiable number, we can't answer. We're just not allowed. We just really can't do it. It's just we can't. Also, you can come via Skype.
Well, actually, I can answer,
You
but
can?
the show stops.
And we've had enough
so
of that. We want the
convenient.
show to continue. The show must go on, darlings. Or via Skype at Freedom Screen 2. And and you can go to our website, springoflifecenter.com, or my website, jasminei.com, which I'm going to be revamping to let it illuminate more of myself, to let myself express there a little differently, because I realized I was still trying and striving to do things the way I was supposed to do them, the formula. But the formulas don't fit anymore. And you might notice if things aren't really working in your life, you're being stressed out in the same area, or you're struggling a bit, you might want to just sit down and write out or consider. I like writing because it puts it in front of my eyes and it doesn't keep recirculating like airplane air. And write out what the rules are, your beliefs about that, or what you've been doing and what you've been applying. And you might notice that these are old ways of applying things that simply aren't working anymore. And it might leave you open to apply new paint. Okay. Hi. Hello.
Hello, Mona. Welcome to the show. Oh, actually, her connection just...
Pooped out.
Yes, it did.
Oh, you should be back,
Maybe
Mona.
it'll return back.
Return to me, my Mona. And so, and we have a few minutes before break, and when we break, I don't know if I'm gonna have another coffee or not. I might. I'm feeling so filled with joy and love and excitement, and I don't know. I feel like a new innocence, a new way of being. I mean, I don't know if I've ever given myself permission to really be myself. And like I said, I feel like I always wanted, there was an outside sourcing like we all do, that I just wanted someone to come down from the sky and say, Jasmine, be yourself. And it feels like that happened. And so anyone who's resonating with this, I'd like to offer you that permission. I'm coming down from the sky or from wherever, and I'm letting you know that you are magnificent, and at your core you are love, and live life fearlessly and be yourself. Listen to your soul and have a blast with that, and turn up the volume on that soul. Be still with yourself.
And don't believe everything you think.
Oh, try not to believe any of it. I mean, crossing the street, the red, green light thing, that's kind of cool, right? Stop signs, get it. But when it comes to stop signs in your own life, I can't do that because, oh, I shouldn't, or, oh my, what's going to happen to me now? I can't make it through this. This is not, don't let that, just say thank you and minimize it. Minimize it. Minimize it like you would in a computer screen with a window. Minimize it and just get still with yourself. There's a beauty inside of you that has your roadmap for you and your dreams, and you know what that is. And yeah, I know they won't let you, she won't let you, you can't because, and the bank says, and blah, blah. But you know what? All right, just minimize that and say, well, if I could, what if I really could? Because I know that we're not given these desires unless we can fulfill them. But somehow, like I said, sometimes we're applying old rules, old mechanisms, old applications, old motors, old drive shafts in a new car, an old map to new terrain. And it's just not going to happen.
Well, and then we can either try to have the terrain match our map, but that generally is a lot of work because now we have to change all of the terrain. Maybe create a new mountain or a lake, depending on what our map says, or we just redraw the map. Generally, a lot easier of a job. And that's essentially what's happening when we're walking through the world. People are complaining about the way the world is, and I understand why, because certain things aren't necessarily all that great. And the question is also, how are we going to approach it?
See you in 5. Coffee break.
We'll approach it with a break.
And this is your host for the second hour of The Inner Revolution here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio. My name is Jasmine. I'm here with Benjamin. Hello, Benjamin.
Hello, and good evening to you, Jasmine, and to everyone else listening to our show this evening.
And we have a caller, do we? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, just an ordinary caller.
Hello, you ordinary caller. How are you?
An original ordinary. How about that?
I would say you are unique, amazing.
Yeah, I'd like to give everybody permission to find their unique. I think that's what my job has been here for.
That's a great job.
Well, it's very tedious. Because if we're always looking within to figure how to make a better without, sometimes it's just good not to think.
Or to just let it be, at least sometimes, because otherwise it's such an uphill battle that you might just want to throw the towel instead. But also...
I made a promise not to have a battle of wits with an unarmed person, and I think I'm very unarmed.
Well, it's funny because those battles of wits, kind of like sarcasm, I mean, it can be fun now and again, but who was it that said that sarcasm is the lowest form of wit? I think that battles of wits are really aimed at two tools of the mind just wanting to hammer each other. There doesn't seem to be a lot of heart in that to me.
No, I don't appreciate the power plays either. Because that's what it boils down to, is somebody's brain thinks their might is right. Well, there's too many perspectives in this reality. And for what you were saying about the other side, as per se, somebody doing a travel of some sort, be it a death, be it an out-of-body, be it either in fear or light, but there's so many transitions. And I had a soulmate once. He was a very high shell oil, and he got taken down through a quick-acting cancer. And when I felt his loss, because he came to me etherically, all shiny and bright and happy as could be, and flippant, took me on tours and guides of other dimensions, which was rather interesting. But when people question that there isn't just, but anything is possible, because it is. Anything is possible, probable, and just enjoy the journey, just like what you said, Benjamin. And I'm really happy you guys are going and doing an adventure or two. You'll have to clue me in every now and then now.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Well, noon to 2.
Well, totally, and I love that. Thank you for the invitation. I mean, I look forward to calling in, and I look forward to keeping everyone posted on Facebook. If anybody wants to connect on Facebook, I'm so wide open to that. I would love that. I'm looking forward to calling in, and we do have one more show, and our last show will be broadcasting from Germany, so that'll be fun. I'll be talking with a German accent next week.
Because you cannot,
the new authentic self, right?
you cannot speak without a German accent while being in Germany. It's impossible. I swear.
Y'all. Here's what you're all thinking.
I love that you shared that you had a soulmate who came to you in a light body and was in this state of magnificence, in this state of joy, in this state of health, in this, because I think that's really important for us to hear. And I don't know for sure, but I get the feeling that for a long time before perhaps this type of civilization that we're living in that is very mind-based and whatnot and separate, that we were more connected to who we really are. And we got that we were just focused for a very short, extreme, intense period of time in this body. And then most of us, really, we were non-physical, and we were just having a blast in this amusement park. And then we're like, all right, I'm out. And I think that we knew that, and we might have celebrated that. I feel that. Like, I don't know that for sure. And I just get this feeling, this knowing that we're coming full circle back to being more aware of the truth of our magnificence, of our divinity.
Well, it's always nice to get some distance. Like when a painter paints a painting, he or she usually gets really, really close to the painting. And while she paints, she's painting along and forgets the bigger picture. And it's really difficult to remember sometimes. So you take a break, you step back, and you have a look at that bigger picture again, and you remember, oh, that's the point. That's why I made this dot over here and that line over there. Right. So then you can step back in and remember. And it's similar to what we actually do here on planet Earth. We take vacations because working for too long, too hard, being too close sometimes has us lose the perspective. So we need to gain some distance. And I think it's very similar for the soul. It too probably wants to take the occasional vacation. So, which planet are we going to this lifetime? Let it be Earth. That would be a great experience. So we go down to Earth, and then we go about our day, and then we go about our business, and all of a sudden we're really, really damn close. What do? In our soul vacation, we take another vacation. Doesn't quite work to get out of that, but hey, we are coming back around to the time where we are starting to actually take a larger viewpoint. We're not only interested in this one lifetime anymore, we're actually interested in the soul again. We're interested in what is beyond. We are so damn curious, and it's so damn important because we definitely are more than just these meat suits. And beyond that, and the bodies, I mean, they're not just meat suits. They are such divine, complex beings onto themselves. I don't even know what to call them because they are such a divine category onto themselves. The brain is a computer so complex that no one nowadays can even build a machine that's even close to as capable as a brain is. I mean, yeah, granted, okay, computers can do certain calculations, but hey man, it can't do what a brain does. It's just so fabulous. But it also shows how important it is just to take a different perspective every now and then. It shows how important it is to give oneself a break. It shows how important it is to reconnect with oneself, to let go of all the details, and to start seeing the bigger picture again. Because if we don't, we lose sight of why we are painting the painting we're painting right now. Amen.
I
For a
agree.
mad painter.
I want to put in a little sense here about that we have three different bodies, and when we can become a little more appreciative of those three different bodies, which is the physical, spiritual, and etherical, because actually the etherical is both, but we have not been able or been shown or taught that that's what it is. We are a makeup of the me, myself, and I, and the male, female, bi. You know, there's a calculation here that we have sure footing on if we, like you said before, just let it happen.
hmm And I think there is a lot that actually wants to present itself. There's so much information and so many other aspects to us that want to present themselves to us, which is quite an exploration that will happen on its own if we get out of the way, if we let it, if we're not resisting it, if we are actually willing to listen close enough, which can be a challenge since we've learned to just push those emotions back down or to ignore those thoughts. And we've really learned to just walk right through the pain rather than trying to listen to what it's trying to tell us. Maybe it's stop whatever you're doing because it hurts. Might be a message as simple as that. But really, there is so much information that's bombarding us nowadays that it can be really difficult to sort through this wild forest and try to find what is that one herb that we actually need. But there is the beauty of being able to sit down, breathe, and actually sort of do nothing for a little while. They call it meditating. And it can allow us to actually listen to the silence, listen to our own music that is going on in the background the entire time, and it's allowing us to filter through this vast amount of information and start recognizing and automatically, instinctively picking out again what is important to us here and now. When we then start to understand that the emotions are actually guiding us on top of it all, giving us constant feedback whether our thoughts are on track or not, well, then we're actually starting to get to the place where we're starting to apply practical spirituality. And I'm loving that all of us get to live at this point in time where we get to witness the reunification of being practical and spirituality. It almost was for quite a while like there was no more use for this fluffy stuff in such a hard world. But we're reintegrating the two. And I'm sure the third is about to come as well. Because as soon as you get the two ends, it's really difficult not to have the middle.
That was nicely put. Bravo.
Yeah, he was sure winded, wasn't he?
Yeah. Nice.
He
Nice
got
work.
his on button pushed. Woohoo!
That went nicely off the three bodies that you mentioned. I love that. You know, there's one thing that you said that I'd love to speak to for a moment, and that was when you said, you know, maybe the whole message is just stop what you're doing because, you know, it hurts, so just stop what you're doing. And I love that. I'm like, wow, talk about boiling it down to simple consommé. Like, if you're in pain, Stop it. Stop whatever you're doing. If you're in pain because you're smashing your thumb with a hammer, stop that. If you're in pain because you're thinking about something in a way that is causing some emotional distress, stop that. Start something new. Start thinking about it in a way that feels better, and look for the gratitude, the appreciation, the new path. And the minute we take a moment to say, stop, that this hurts. You're in a relationship that doesn't feel good, stop it and start a new relationship. And
Or
that really,
find a new way of being in that relationship. But like, what's the definition of insanity? Trying the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
I still believe in miracles.
I do too. I believe in miracles too. I'm having one. You are one, Mona.
Oh, ditto.
Wow.
Seriously, I'm so happy you guys are going to go find some of that magic out there. It's really cool.
I'm pumped. I'm really feeling called to. I've been having a feeling of some a very old shaman somewhere in South America, or I don't know where or what, but I'm feeling a few people that I need to speak with on the planet. Some teachers or fellow, I don't want to say teachers, but there's some
Journeyers.
Information that wants to be passed between us. And I feel really strongly called to that,
Yeah, connecting the grid kind of thing. And
Right on.
You're kind of semi-stuck in Kentucky, at least by the airwaves to a degree, that you got cousins or whoever here in the States,
And what I find so amazing is that with the new ways of looking at the world that we're experiencing, it's yet another layer of what we've been talking about, in the sense that we are starting to experience the magic everywhere that we go. But not because the world has necessarily changed, but rather because we've changed our worlds from the inside out. And now, with these, let's call them new glasses, these new filters that we're now wearing, all of a sudden, or lack of filters, I'm not quite sure, maybe the lens is actually just cleaner, the smudges are off, all of a sudden, we can re-experience how magical the world is. We go into the countryside, wow, look at how magical nature is. Then we go back into the city, wow, look at all these buildings and how magical it is what we've built. It is magical no matter where we go. But that could also be very different, because if I have a depressed moment, all of a sudden it doesn't matter where I'm depressed, it all sucks.
Well, you took something personal then that you thought you had to own, which you really don't own anything, because we're all just borrowing this fantasy we're living through called reality. I can't go on. It's late night for me here.
That was a cool statement. I was just like, wow. I was just sitting with that for a minute. That was a really interesting statement.
It's interesting because what's coming up there is that it is partly borrowed, but also partly created. Because aren't we also co-creating the entire experience? But I also see that, yes, everything is borrowed. It's quite funny because even the thoughts that do float through are borrowed. And that's oftentimes why there are inventors all over the world that come up with the same invention around the same time.
Exactly.
Because they're tapping into the same mass consciousness, which has developed to a point where then all of a sudden it clicks. The downloads are happening into people's minds. They're coming up with the same stuff, and they're both claiming they're the original inventors. Well, they are. They're actually not stealing of each other. And now, for example, there's Rupert Sheldrake, who's coming up. I'm not quite sure. What is it called? Something like magnetic field theory or something. Sorry, don't quite quote me on that one. But he essentially is talking about the fields that are developed through the universe, that even if in a very distant place there are certain types of minerals that grow a specific way, minerals in another location in the universe have an easier time growing in that same way because there is learning across space and time. There are fields that are being developed. And the same is true actually for us humans too. As we're evolving, we are all together in mass consciousness creating ideas, creating fundamentals of how we view the world, and we are constantly shifting it with every single thought that we're thinking. So we do have the power to actually veer into different directions. But it is so vitally important to start noticing what kind of an energy we give and feed into it. Because no matter where we pay attention, we're feeding it. But now we can look at the quality of how we're feeding these concepts. Are we feeding them with negative energy or with positive energy? Are we feeding it in a way that makes us feel good, or are we feeding it in a way that pulls us down? And depending on which energy we decide to feed, we get more of it. So if we decide to nag about the weather, it doesn't matter what the weather will look like, we will learn to nag more about it. If, on the other hand, we start to appreciate the weather because whether there is sunshine and I'm loving the vitamin D I'm getting, or it's raining and I'm so grateful that the earth is getting to drink some fresh rainwater, both is so vitally important. I can be so joyful no matter which one occurs. But I'm actually starting to build that positive momentum. And yeah, you know what? I might also have a day where I don't really care what weather it is or where I was hoping for sunshine. But
that should be every day, actually, to get through it all to a degree, because we're also witnessing as well as being part of the creative forces. Because when you were saying that, I was thinking string theory. There's so many dialects of the scientific mathematical equations that make us the blessings that we are and have. What can you do but just kind of sit back and relax and enjoy it? This was a Garden of Eden once, right?
Still is. It still is, and I think that some of us are experiencing it through the eyes of wonder and Eden and appreciation, and others are not.
And what it all really boils down to is what kind of fields of energy we build in our own personal reality, because that will determine more than anything else that I personally at least have encountered in my world what else will come, how my future is going to look. And now, what I did actually look it up quickly. Rupert Sheldrake talks about morphic fields.
The morphic fields, that's it.
Yes, it's his morphic field theory.
Okay, you're going to post it in the chats?
Yeah, I can surely do that. 1 second.
Thanks for the reminder, Mona. It's always nice to be so supported.
Well, I've studied it, and there's 3 different kinds of magnetic electric that we coexist with, create with, and have created itself with. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's rather interesting in that there is natural power spots on the planet that contain these energies, and maybe that's another reason why you're going around, is to help do some manifesting, a balancing of some energies. Not just your own, but just by you being who you are.
I love that. Oh, I'm hearing
I'm here today for who I am. Go ahead.
And we have someone else join us for the show, and we welcome just in time. Thanks so much for calling in. It's very nice to have you.
Mr. Time, how are you?
It's a pleasure to hear both your voices. How are you doing?
Super fine. Thank you very much.
Fabulous already, and even better now that you're on the call with us.
Oh, we have...
I just had to call in and just had to say how much I've appreciated this last 24, 25 weeks. You've added so much to my life with 2 hours of just listening to both of you talk and look at things in different ways and given me a different outlook many times. And I find that's where I'm starting to close the door. I feel it needs to be closed, and I might come back in the door and peek in once in a while, but so many times I've been in we won't call it a closet, we'll call it a room. I really didn't like being there, but I stayed in there anyway. And then at the end of the day, I scratched my head and asked myself, why? Why did you stay in there day after day after day if you really didn't feel it was encouraging you, if you didn't feel it was enlightening you? Why didn't you stay in there? Why didn't you just make the decision? Because you have that choice. And the more I thought about it, I thought, yeah, you're right. You do have the choice. And I made the choice and I made the decision. It's just like all the stuff that's going on, in the outer world today. Whether this is getting blown up or whether there's protest here or whether there's, it almost seems like, everybody's out there so busy looking for death on a daily basis, how it's going to happen, when it's going to come. And I think the sad part is that most people don't realize or stop to think about is when that death does come, you're probably going to look back and ask yourself, wow, that was a great life. Why did I waste so much of that precious life waiting for this asteroid to come or waiting for martial law to come there or waiting for this to blow up, or what a waste. And I've come to that decision where I've closed the door and I don't plan to open it again.
Yeah.
May I say something?
Absolutely, please.
Doors are usually a material thing, and when it's life from the heart, it's an etherical thing. So we need to just give unconditionally, no matter what, the process that it needs to take. And that's all I can say right now, actually. That we shouldn't take life so personal. Because we all get our hugs again. Things work out in their own measure for what they're supposed to be, not what we think they should be or the way that it are. That's all it are. It are should be that way.
It already are. Let's all be pirates for a moment.
Arr.
That was a beautiful share, Mr. Time. And I love hearing, I love experiencing that, and I love listening, with my heart to other people when they're sharing and saying that they've had a shift in their lives, that they've recognized that they have a choice, that they've found a new overview to be able to say, you know what, I'm scratching my head as to why exactly I was hanging out here for so long, but now that I get it, I'd rather hang out somewhere else. And that takes a special kind of willingness and a special kind of commitment to listening to yourself and being yourself. And I dig that. Good for you. Good for you, Mr. Time. I'm just give you a big hug. Oh, there.
And I'm so glad, actually, for the feedback that we've been getting today. It's been quite wonderful to hear all the shifts that people have been making in their lives. It's so powerful and so rewarding to hear about all you out there doing your work, listening to yourself, and actually getting things going in your own life and actually moving those energies. Like, how powerful is that? And it's not easy. I totally get that. Sometimes it can be really quite a challenge, especially when those grooves have gotten really deep. And we also have Dory join us. Hello, Dory. How are you doing this evening?
Hello, Benjamin. Hello, Jasmine. Hi, Mona. Am I Justine? No. I had to call in to say what a great show, and you inspired all of us. I'm like in tears over this. I know Justin is as well, and I'm supposed to be the strong one between the two of us, but obviously that's not working out, Justin, so you owe me now. But you did such a great service to all of us. I'm going to miss you. I wish you the best. In Italian, I would say to you, un viaggio sicuro. It means have a safe and beautiful trip. It's kind of like saying a buon viaggio in Italian, you know.
Thank you.
But enjoy your lives, and you really made a difference in mine.
Oh, thank you. And we have one more show, everyone. So tune in next week, too.
I'm not calling into that show. I'll be a mess.
I just wanted to, I wanted to let everyone know just a little bit. I felt like 2 weeks' notice was important, and I'm feeling very emotional about this too. It wasn't an easy choice, but it certainly felt appropriate. Especially from a service perspective. I really feel to be in service and to share from a way that's going to be, of value, and that's going to have the right connections and people can hear, and it's got quality to it is so important. And especially on this platform, everyone is giving their all, and if my computer's not working in the jungle, I'm telling you, but it didn't feel like it would be appropriate. And I mean, last week was such a beautiful indication of that, when our signal was just on and off and off and on and on and off. And as well balanced as I felt, and holding myself through it, it didn't feel fair to listeners or to the platform or to Hawk or to anybody, really.
Well, didn't that just actually prove to you that we are not in control of any of this?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've sat back and laughed. One day I lost a whole hour and just came back in and turned it on, and hey, it went like that. So you learn that's where the trust comes in now, Jasmine. Is that a drone flying over my house?
A drone. It's a pirate in a helicopter. Arr.
Well, actually, if you never mind.
I can see the pirate from here. And something I also wanted to say is how important all of you were to us, because we started this show really wanting to talk about what it is that we do and share with you what we have found to be so important in our lives, because we study life out of passion. We do this because we are so passionate about this, and we just can't hold back from sharing this. We have to, and it's been so wonderful to have you participate in this conversation. It's been so vital, actually, to hear your voices, because we were not just on Revolution Radio, we were on BBS Radio too. And there the experience was vastly different than it was here. We were sending out and didn't really get much feedback. But I don't believe that it was so much because of the message itself. It just, there wasn't the same type of family dynamic going on as there was here. There is a lively chat going on 24/7. And it's just wonderful to also hear from you how you're making shifts in your lives. It's been so vitally important to hear from you, to have you call in, to give your feedback even on the chat or even just by listening in. It's been adding so fundamentally to our message, and it's also been really reconfirming that what we're doing does have value, that what we're doing isn't for nothing, that it is actually also arriving and not on deaf ears. And it is so heartwarming and just precious to me and Jasmine to hear you actually say those kind words. So thank you so, so much for your participation. It's been so vital and it's gold. It is pure gold in our pockets and warmth and sunshine in our hearts. So thank you so much for participating because it's lifting our spirits also. And I don't think that this is the end. It's just the beginning of the next chapter. I mean, we've been talking about death so much that, hey, this show has a temporary outing where it's not going to exist. It's going to be out of its body for a while. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't have the opportunity to reincarnate if everything just falls into place, as it usually does.
Well, and
Yeah, like it or not.
don't be surprised if a lot of people in Germany to turn their head as you walk by, because I know we have several affiliates that simulcast this radio station, and we're also on several FM stations, and I believe one of them is in Germany.
Well, there you go. You're the missionaries now.
No, I don't want to be a missionary.
I think they said they were traveling to Germany, not living there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Although we can certainly suggest freedom slips to people as we're traveling, no doubt about that. And advertise the shows that we'll be on also. And
exciting.
any other shows, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving the change, and I'm feeling really warm, and I'm really looking forward to next week's show too. I mean, this one we still have time. I feel like we're saying all our goodbyes ahead of time. Remember, listen, the chocolate's being served next week, so y'all tune in. All right, we're not.
Yeah, we can call in next week. Oh, it would be like a crying fest for us. So I have to say, because of the both of you, I have a show now, because
Yay.
I've been here for 4 years, and I've been asked before, and I just really, not that I wasn't confident. I was like, no, when you brought on what you had to say, I'm like, yeah, I'm on the same level. And thank God, Justin, my sidekick, I love him so much. Everybody knows that. He's my producer, and it's with Joaquin. He's the host, and we have a show on Thursday nights. So because of you guys, when I heard you speak, I'm like, they think the same way I do. You want to bring something fun to the plate, and that everything's not really doom and gloom, you guys, that there's another side to this. So we want to bring something special that maybe, what's going on in our lives, you can actually feel the same. It's not all what you think it is. There is other things happening that are wonderful. I have to say that. So because of you, I have to thank you both.
Yay, congratulations.
Awesome.
You did something crazy, and we'll blame it on you if it goes to hell in a handbasket.
Please do.
Right? We're like,
all
we're
your
in Germany, we don't care. Yeah, no. But thank you very much.
All right, Joy Bar.
So we've got some really, really good,
funny.
like Mona's show is a very upbeat and heart-based, and now your show, Dory, and I love that. I love that. I love that everyone is seemingly feeling safer and more courageous to just, be themselves and speak what's true for them and for you from your heart and the way you see the world, because it feels good. And I say, if it feels good, do it. And if it doesn't, well, stop it.
I'm actually
That's
really
right.
loving that you're also offering concrete examples of where you have been building thought by thought, essentially brick by brick, more of your good feeling world, have been concretizing it, have been working at it, have been expanding it so much so that it has gained its own momentum, it has gained its own gravity, and it's now led you to actually act on that beyond where you've been acting up to this point. And it is lovely to actually hear you expand so far that you're saying, hey, we've actually started our own radio show. How brilliant is that? That's just awesome. And I also see that with each one of us starting to do that in our own worlds and starting to expand out and starting a conversation, we really are creating greater momentum in the good feeling world. We are creating a larger grid of this positive energy. Doesn't even quite do it a justice. Momentum more so, because there's some real movement behind this. And we're expanding it out, and every single person that just gets one thought that catches on, it grows further and further, and it's going to become a self-propelling momentum that is just going to drive forward. And hey, we get to be part of it all. We're actually shifting mass consciousness, and I think it's brilliant.
It's delicious. I'm so happy. Oh. A moment of silence. Everyone's like, oh. Let's all do a happy dance.
Right, roll the cleanse.
I was thinking gumdrops and lollipops. What is that from Willy Wonka?
Yeah. Or sunshine and lollipops and, I don't know, bum, 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 bum.
I know, right?
Somebody,
let's go.
somebody in the chat just said that there's better hosts on B these days, and that it's much cheerier on here. And isn't that nice? More optimistic. Isn't that nice?
When you make a difference, make a difference, because we see it. Not that we're knocking any other host or anything else, but there's certain politics and there's religion, and it just goes on. You know what I mean? There has to be another side to it. So you had your side, and that brought out the light in me. And then, Mona has her show that brings out the light in her. And then, we're just kind of I don't want to say doom and gloomers, but that's what it is.
Passing
you know what
forward.
I mean? We're just trying to do a different side of the spectrum. That's all. They have their great stuff, and then we have ours as well. So
it's all a matter of perspective, because
exactly,
I know the reality behind all that supposedly doom and gloom. And the whole thing is like what Benjamin said. If we don't feed it, it can't grow.
I said that on the last show of ours. Yeah,
I think we're all repeating the same thing sometimes.
Yeah, right.
There might be new listeners.
Exactly. Well, that's the whole
and
reason
we are
for
listener
it. So.
supported, and it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
And it's so funny because, in a certain sense, since the beginning, it's felt to us like we've been saying the same thing over and over and over and over. But I also know from listening to my teachers, they say the same thing over and over and over, but I just can't get enough. Because it's a good message that feels good. And generally, I just don't get sick of it, because there are just so many more vantage points and so many more places where I get to apply it. And it doesn't matter how often I hear it, because usually I find another place where I can apply it. Because the challenges also don't seem to end, but how much fun is that? I just get to learn how to become smoother and better at actually finding yet another way of finding myself here and there, and finding my center, and finding a new way of going about this, and a better way of being cheerful here, or accepting that, and forgiving this, and just moving forward with it all. And it is amazing to see how we're all starting to band together more, deeper and tighter.
My aspiration someday, Benjamin, is to be a third, or not even a third, like a 0.1% of you. Then I'd feel better. And now I know why Jasmine loves you.
Oh, he's so
because
lovable.
you just a loving human. Well, you are too, hon. But it's like you just make it sound so nice. It's like, oh, somebody actually said something nice. We see this stuff all the time. That's just such crap. Sometimes, really, it is. And you just try to smile and go through it, but you say it so eloquently. It's like, oh, just. Take it as it comes. When you get hit, take it. And let's move on. Something else is right behind the corner just from that. So we applaud you.
That's actually such a good example, because, okay, you get hit, but you already got hit. Why would I now hit myself by being upset over it? Because now I'm starting to hit myself. Isn't
Absolutely.
that silly though?
I agree 100%. I say the same thing every day. Absolutely.
And thank you.
It's good. Do it. I mean, the sad part is, it seems like for many these days, that's the only way that you learn is repetition, hearing it over and over and over
Not
again.
me, man. No, no, no. I mean, people learn in so many different ways. Because, like, if we told a story about a peanut bush, and they're only ground cover, so it wouldn't come as a bush, but somebody would get and think of a peanut bush instead of the way that it grows. But they would think about it because it either got them enticed or they needed to hear something about peanuts or whichever. It's all in just not the rhetoric and the continually go over. It's impression of how it's being said and told too. Like if I just said stop, would you listen to me? But if I said stop, you'd listen to me. You know what I mean? Okay.
Well, I guess it all depends, And I'm not sure anybody stops anything until or even starts anything new because, we stop one thing and we often look at it as that's it, it's over, I've stopped that. But what's beyond that? There's always something new. It's a new beginning. And if we all, looked at our lives and our changes and shifts from that perspective of this is new, it's something new, and I'm going to start thinking about new things. And there's one thing I've heard the term doom and gloom, the doomers and the gloomers. It's kind of like, you got the rockers, you got the jocks, you got the doomers and gloomers.
But it's all perspective of whoever's claiming that
It's
verbiage.
a good image.
Yeah, right. And I mean, and I get it can be, some energies are a little heavier than others. I mean, and it's interesting, but I guess I'm at this place where allowing people to be where they're at is okay. And if people want to inundate them, whatever water they want to swim in is okay. There is no non-peeing end of the pool. And it depends what kind of pool you're in, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody wants to, I know this one woman, and every once in a while when I run into her, she's a professional at somewhere I go to once in a blue moon for a massage, and she's at the front desk, and I see her, and I say, hi, how are you? And she goes, oh, I was on vacation. I go, wow, that's amazing. Where did you go? Oh, and I was in the Dominican Republic. I said, oh, must have been beautiful. I've been there. It was really lush. Yeah, my son liked it. And it doesn't matter what it is, but everything seems to roll off her like she's Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, and it's all just a little heavy. And while the massage therapist will be on vacation, but I'll still have to be here. And I was like, well, you didn't enjoy your vacation, but you don't enjoy being here. And over the years, I've come to just appreciate her for being Eeyore, and. And just go, well, I always liked Eeyore, so I'm just going to be a little ray of sunshine like I always am and tell her she's beautiful because she so is, and just enjoy her and not worry or wonder about why she's like that because she's having her perfect life experience for her. And I suppose when I bounce in, I'm having, my perfect life experience and we're coming together for a moment and then we're leaving and I'm going back to my beautiful lake. And I will swim in the water that I prefer to swim in.
Some don't ever see the sunny side of the road, ever. And you're like, whatever someone could say to you, you just keep going, like, well, wasn't that wonderful? And they just never see the sunny side of the road. I have friends like that back east. I was brought up back east. I laugh every time I go back home, and we all get like a little reunion, all of us together. I said, your kids are gorgeous. Ah, you have no idea. And everything, your husband's loaded. You got a beautiful house. Oh, my God, they go to private school. I just do it on purpose. I go, oh, God, it sucks. Life is horrible. How do you live on a daily basis with all this beautifulness around you? Your kids are real estate. They're so polite. They don't swear. They don't do drugs, right? And she just looks at me. She goes, doesn't it suck? I said, hell, yes, it does. How dare you have this happen to you in your life? And so my girlfriend looks at me and she goes, you think after all the years she'd finally get you? I said, she had the dumb look on her face. It took me 15 years. 15 years. And she looked at me, she goes, you're ranking on me, aren't you? I said, absolutely not. Who would have thunk that? And she said, I am grateful, she said, but I am an ass. I said, well, we all come out when we're an ass. It just happens. Italians are very passionate. There's some of them that are so, they always have to be in hell. Always. Always wear black. Someone died 500 years ago. Just remember they died 500 years ago. Got to bring it up. Could be St. Anthony. It could be anybody, but you have to wear the black, And the last time I was back, he said exactly what she did. I went, her kids were beautiful. They were so polite. Her husband is a dreamboat. Like, she couldn't even, if she had to hit lotto, she hit lotto. Most miserable girl on the planet. And beautiful girl on the planet. And then when I finally said it to her, she looked at me, she goes, huh. And I go, well, she goes, wow, I never really looked at it like that. I said, what, that you're the luckiest woman in the world and you have a beautiful life? God blessed you. How dare you take, away from that? And she goes, yeah, huh. And now she's still miserable. We all love her, but she's not as miserable as she used to be. But people come into the world like that. They really do. There's no matter what they have, it doesn't make a difference. It really doesn't make a difference.
You can't change anybody, and we're
No, I never do. I just break their stones. That's just who I am.
How much fun.
Well, it is for me, honey. You have no idea. I've known these girls my whole life. I'm like, oh, pop belly. And you were what, 102 pounds back then? Oh, God is so good to me. I said, it's so good to me.
What's funny is you said that you mentioned something that Italians are like that. And it's interesting because there's a cultural overlay. And the woman I was referring to happens to be Italian. And that's never been my experience of the Italians. And I was raised by an Italian family till I was 4. And they were, so it was a lot of passion and a lot of hot-blooded movement and expression, and I adore that. And I'm heading to Italy because I've yet to be there, and I feel very close to that in my heart. And so
yeah.
I'm going. I'm aiming.
Oh, good for you, girl. That's the best time of my life. And I am Italian, by the way.
Yeah.
Shout out. Everybody knows that, obviously. My listeners Beretta, but yes. But,
hard to hide, honey. It's hard to hide.
Right. But yeah, there are the doom and gloomers in our friendship thing, and then the real loving Italians. They're all loving. I'm just, knocking them because it's fun to make fun of them because we've grown up with them since we were 2. We went to nursery school, kindergarten, nursery, everything with them. But yeah, they were doom and gloom when they were babies. Like they were brought up like that. Like their parents, But then the sisters turned out wonderful and happy and everything's lovely. But then there's always that one kid that's miserable. It doesn't make a difference what you do. Everybody has ice cream cones. This doesn't taste right. It fell on the ground. Those are the kind of people. Those are the Italians, the martyrs. Everybody's they martyr everything.
Talking about creating your own reality.
Yeah.
Like there's a nice example of like how you can put 2 people in the exact same circumstance and how differently they choose to create their own reality from the inside out. It doesn't really matter what the outside perspective is. What matters is really how you view it from the inside. And if they wanted to shift it, well, they might have to do a little bit of work, but they would be able to.
Cards.
And
I think they know. I think they know what kind of beautiful life they have. I just think it's so, can't even say ingrained in them.
It's practice.
That
It's in the
it
genes.
is. Oh yeah, because my nanny was like
right?
that. Yeah.
One at a time,
She was like
ladies.
Go ahead, Mona. You go first.
I'm done. I said it.
Oh. I'm trying to be polite. All right. No.
Yeah.
I really am, actually. You'd be surprised. No, I just think it's ingrained in you, whether you're Italian or not. But Italians are very passionate, yes. But they're passionate when they're in hell as well. That's all I'm trying to say. They're very passionate either way. You're in hell, and you have a beautiful life. To us, it looks like a beautiful life. To them, it's hell. It's just a weird thing.
That we also get something you can call the juice from drama. There is some juice in complaining. There is some, it's almost like its own little drug that when we squeeze that complain button, when we are capable of even maybe pulling someone else down with us, oh man, it can feel ever so delicious. there is that artificialness that does provide us with something. And yes, when we practice it, we can get so good at it. So good that when we establish that type of a reality, others that are too happy can't stick around us for too long, or they'll come down to this evilish complaining way too. Or we can actually also, they give us such beautiful examples though of how powerfully we can create our own reality, that when we want to actually go into the happy zone and we want to create our world in a much more accepting and loving way, we can become just as powerful. That those that complain can't either stick around for very long, or if they do stick around, have to adjust to our frequency. But the question is, how stable are we within ourselves to hold wherever we are in that moment, whatever frequency we choose to exhibit, to create for ourselves?
I only thought of Archie Bunker when you were saying that. Do you remember that show? I can't remember what it was.